I'm a
Okay.
shrink. I worry about everybody's good connection.
Okay, folks, we're being live streamed.
Alrighty. So yes, we are now live. I'm turning over the hosting duties to Drew. I'm making you the host. And hi, welcome. I'm Paul Sugarman from the Instant Shakespeare Company, and today we're doing a reading of the Shaw Project of A Widower's Houses. So over to you, David Cedar, to introduce this.
Hi, everybody. Widower's Houses is Shaw's first play and possibly his most serious and serious play of the whole lot, believe it or not. But it's a powerful play and it's well worth doing. Let's all introduce ourselves. I'm David Cedar, the director of the company. I'm reading Lick Cheese. All right, Ben.
I'm Bennett Pology, and I'm Sartorius, not Sartorial. Name is Sartorius, yes?
Yes, correct.
Okay. I'm going to change my name.
Just going down the line here, Clinton.
Hello, I'm Clinton Powell. I'm reading Mr. William de Burgh Cocaine.
Is it cocaine?
Cocaine, yes.
Okay.
Christina.
I'm Christina Osterling. I am reading Blanche Sartorius.
And Drew.
I'm Drew Bolander, and I'm reading Dr. Harry Trench.
And finally, Paula.
I'm Paula Hosa, and I am playing both a waitress and a parlor maid.
All right, here we go. In the garden restaurant of a hotel at Remagen on the Rhine on a fine afternoon in August in the 1880s, looking down the Rhine toward Bonn, the gate leading from the garden to the riverside is seen on the right. The hotel is on the left. It has a wooden annex with an entrance marked table d'hôte. A waitress is in attendance. A couple of English tourists come out of the hotel. The younger, Dr. Harry Trench, is about 24. The other, Mr. William de Burgh Cocaine, is probably over 40, possibly 50.
2 beers for us out here. We have got the room with the best view in the hotel, Harry, thanks to my tact. We'll leave in the morning and do Mainz and Frankfurt. There's a very graceful female statue in the private house of a nobleman in Frankfurt. Also a zoo. Next day, Nuremberg, the finest collection of instruments of torture in the world.
Oh, all right. You look out the trains, will you?
Pah, the seat is all dusty. These foreigners are deplorably unclean in their habits.
Oh, never mind. Don't matter, old chappie. Buck up, Billy, buck up. Enjoy yourself. Pass about the Rhine wine, let it flow like the free and flowing river.
In the name of common decency, Harry, will you remember that you are a gentleman and not a coster on Hampstead Heath on Bank Holiday? Would you dream of behaving like this in London?
Oh, rot. I've come abroad to enjoy myself. And so would you if you just passed an examination after 4 years in medical school and walking the hospital.
Trench, either you travel as a gentleman or you travel alone. This is what makes Englishmen unpopular on the continent. It may not matter before the natives, but the people who came on board the steamer at Koblenz are English. I have been uneasy all the afternoon about what they must think of us. Look at our appearance.
What's the matter with our appearance?
Negligee, my dear fellow, negligee. On the steamboat, a little negligee was quite en règle. But here in this hotel, some of them are sure to dress for dinner. And you have nothing but that Norfolk jacket. How are they to know that you are well connected if you do not show it by your manners?
Who? The steamboat people are the scum of the earth. Americans and all sorts. They may go hang themselves, Billy. I shall not bother about them.
Do drop calling me Billy in public, Trench. My name is Cocaine. I am sure they were persons of consequence. You were struck with the distinguished appearance of the father yourself.
What? Are those people?
Here, Harry, here at this hotel, I recognize the father's umbrella in the stand in the hall.
I suppose I ought to have brought a change. The lot of luggage is such a nuisance. At all events, we can go have a wash. Oh, I say, here they are.
Recollect yourself, Harry. Presence of mind. Presence of mind. Quel n'est ceci-là est notre table? Est-ce que vous comprenez français?
Yes, sir. All right, sir.
Place those things on the table.
These gentlemen are using this table there. Would you mind?
You should have told me that before. I regret the mistake, sir.
Don't mention it, my dear sir. Don't mention it. Retain the place, I beg.
Thank you. Place them on that table.
Porter as well.
Jawohl, gnädiger Herr.
Waiter,
Yes, sir.
tea for two out here.
Yes, sir.
Trench, my dear fellow, your beer is waiting for you.
Thank you, Cocaine.
By the way, Harry, I have often meant to ask you, is Lady Roxdale your mother's sister or your father's?
My mother's, of course. Will put that into your head?
Nothing. I was just thinking. She will expect you to marry, Harry. A doctor ought to marry.
Now, what has she got to do with it?
A great deal, dear boy. She looks forward to flouting your wife in society in London.
What rot.
Oh, you are young, dear boy. You don't know the importance of these things. Apparently, idle ceremonial trifles really the springs and wheels of a great aristocratic system. My dear sir, excuse my addressing you, but I cannot help feeling that you prefer this table and that we are in your way.
Thank you. Thank you. Blanche, this gentleman very kindly offers us his table. If you would prefer it.
Thanks, it makes no difference.
We are fellow travelers, I believe, sir.
Fellow travelers and fellow countrymen. We rarely feel the charm of our own tongue until it reaches our ears under a foreign sky. You have no doubt noticed that.
Well, from a romantic point of view, possibly, very possibly. As a matter of fact, the sound of English makes me feel at home, and I dislike feeling at home when I'm abroad. It is not precisely what one goes to the expense for. And I think this gentleman traveled with us also.
My valued friend, Dr. Trench. Trench, my dear fellow, allow me to introduce you to...
Maybe to shake your hand, Dr. Trench. My name is Sartorius, and I have the honor of being known to Lady Roxdale, who I believe is a near relative of yours. Blanche, my friend, Dr. Trench.
Perhaps I should introduce my friend, Cocaine, to you. Mr. Sartorius, Mr. William de Burgh Cocaine.
2 more cups.
Yes, sir.
Do you take sugar, Mr. Cocaine?
Thank you. This is really too kind, Harry. Bring your chair around.
You are very welcome.
Table d'hôte at 6:30, gentlemen. Anything else now, sir?
No, you can go.
Do you contemplate a long stay here, Miss Sartorius?
We were thinking of going on to Rolandsec. Is it as nice as this place?
Harry, the Baedecker, thank you.
Sugar, Dr. Trench?
Thanks.
Rolandesk appears to be an extremely interesting place. It is one of the most beautiful and frequented spots on the river and is surrounded with numerous villas and pleasant gardens, chiefly belonging to wealthy merchants from the lower Rhine and extending along the wooden slopes at the back of the village.
That sounds civilized and comfortable. I vote we go there.
Quite like our place at Surbiton, my dear.
Quite.
Oh, you have a place down the river? Ah, I envy you.
Well, no, I've merely taken a furnished villa at Surbiton for the summer. I live in Bedford Square. I'm a vestryman and must reside in the parish.
Another cup, Mr. Cocaine?
Thank you, no. I presume you have been around this little place. Not much to see here except the Apollinaris Church.
What?
The Apollinaris Church.
Strange name to give a church. Very continental, I must say.
Ah, yes. That is where our neighbors fall short sometimes, Mr. Sartorius. Taste is what they occasionally fail in. But in this instance, they are not to blame. The water is called after the church, not the church after the water.
Well, I am glad to hear it. Is the church a celebrated one?
Baedeker stars it.
Well, in that case, I should like to see it.
Erected in 1839 by Zwerner, the late eminent architect of the Cathedral of Cologne, at the expense of Count Fürstenberg Stamheim.
No, we certainly must see that, Mr. Cocaine. I had no idea the architect of Cologne Cathedral lived so recently.
Don't let us bother with any more churches, Papa. They're all the same, and I'm tired to death of them.
Well, my dear, if you think it's sensible to take a long and expensive journey to see what there is to be seen and then to go away without seeing it, I suppose.
Not this afternoon, Papa, please.
My dear, I should like you to see everything. It is part of your education.
Oh, my education. Very well. Very well. I suppose I must go through with it. Are you coming, Dr. Trench? I'm sure the Johannes Church will be a treat for you.
Excellent, very good indeed. But you know, Miss Sartorius, there actually are Johannes churches here, several of them, as well as Apollinaris ones.
There is many a true word spoken in jest, Mr. Cocaine.
How true, how true.
So you have done it at last.
Yes, at least Cocaine's done it. I told you he'd manage it. He's rather an ass in some ways, but he has tremendous tact.
Tact? That's inquisitiveness. Inquisitive people always have a lot of practice in getting into conversation with strangers. Why didn't you speak to my father yourself on the boat? You were ready enough to speak to me without any introduction.
Well, I didn't particularly want to talk to him.
It didn't occur to you, I suppose, that you put me in a false position by that.
No, I don't see that exactly. Besides, your father isn't an easy man to tackle. Of course, now that I know him, I see that he's pleasant enough, but when you've got to know him first, haven't you?
Everybody is afraid of Papa, and I'm sure I don't know why.
However, it is all right now, isn't it?
I don't know. How should I? You had no right to speak to me that day on board the steamer. You thought I was alone because I had no mother with me.
Oh, I say, come. It was you that spoke to me. Of course, I was only glad of it, glad of the chance. But on my word, I shouldn't have moved an eyelid if you hadn't given me the lead.
I only asked you the name of a castle. There was nothing unladylike in that.
Of course not. Why shouldn't you? But it's all right now, isn't it?
Is it?
I suppose so. By the way, what about the Apollinaris Church? Your father expects us to follow him, doesn't he?
Me detain you if you wish to see it.
Won't you come?
No.
I say, you're not offended, are you? Blanche. I beg your pardon for calling you by your name. You don't mind, do you? I felt sure you wouldn't for some reason. Well, okay, I have no idea how you will receive this. It must seem horribly abrupt, but the circumstances do admit of... the fact is, my utter want of tact... Now, if I were Cocaine, it would be... No, not cocaine. But though I assure you, I was only going to say about him that he
But he will be back presently with Papa.
Yes, they can't be very long now. I hope I'm not detaining you.
I thought you were detaining me because you had something to say.
Not at all. At least nothing very particular. That is, I'm afraid you would not think it very particular. Another time, perhaps.
What other time? How do you know that we shall ever meet again? Tell me now. I want you to tell me now.
Well, I was thinking that if we could make up our minds to, or not to, at least.
I do not think there is much danger of your making up your mind, Dr. Trent.
I only thought, dear Blanche, I thought I should never have to have said it. I believe I should have stood stuttering here all day if you hadn't helped me out with it.
Didn't help you out with it.
I don't mean that you did it on purpose either, only instinctively.
But you haven't said anything.
What more can I say than this?
When shall we be married?
We've lost you sound-wise. I'm not sure what's going on.
At the first church we meet, the Apollinaris Church, if you like.
No, but seriously. This is serious. Harry, you mustn't joke about it.
So, here they are back again.
Tableau in 20 minutes, ladies and gentlemen.
I intended you to accompany us, Blanche.
Yes, Papa, we were just about to start.
We are rather dusty. We must make ourselves presentable at the table d'hôte. I think you had better come with me, my child. Come.
No, my dear boy, no. No, never. I blush for you. I was never so ashamed in my life. You've been taking advantage of that unprotected girl.
Chicane!
Her father seems to be a perfect gentleman. I obtained the privilege of his acquaintance. I introduced you. I allowed him to believe that he might leave his daughter in your charge with absolute confidence. And what did I see on our return? What did her father see? Oh, Trench. Trench. No, my dear fellow, no. No. Bad taste, Harry. Bad form.
Stuff. There was nothing to see.
Nothing to see. She, a perfect lady, a person of the highest breeding, actually in your arms, and you say there was nothing to see? With the waiter there actually ringing a heavy bell to call attention to his presence. Have you no principles, Trench? Have you no religious convictions? Have you no acquaintance with the usages of society? You actually kissed.
You didn't see me kiss her.
We not only saw, but we heard it. The report positively reverberated down the Rhine. Don't condescend to subterfuge, Trench.
Oh, nonsense, my dear Billy. You merely...
There you go again. Don't use that low abbreviation. How am I to preserve the respect of fellow travelers of position and wealth if I am to be billied at every turn? My name is William Dayberg Cocaine.
Bother. There, don't be offended, old chap. What's the use of putting your back up at every trifle? It comes natural to me to call you Bill. It suits you somehow.
You have no decency of feeling, Trench, no taste. I never mention it to anyone, but nothing, I am afraid, will ever make a true gentleman of you. Oh, here is my friend Sartorius coming, no doubt to ask you for an explanation of your conduct. I really should not have been surprised to see him bring a horsewhip with him. I shall not intrude on the painful scene.
Don't go, confound it. I don't want to meet him alone just now.
See, Harry, delicacy, good taste, savoir-faire.
Dr. Trench.
Oh, is that you, Mr. Sartorius? How did you find the church?
You've been speaking to my daughter, Dr. Trench.
Yes, we had a conversation. Quite a chat, in fact, whilst you were at the church with cocaine. How did you get on? How did you get on with cocaine, Mr. Sartorius? I always think he has such wonderful tact.
I've just had a word with my daughter, Dr. Trench. I find her under the impression that something has passed between you, which it is my duty as a father, the father of a motherless girl, to inquire into at once. My daughter, perhaps foolishly, has taken you quite seriously. And...
But I don't know.
But one moment, if you will be so good. I've been a young man myself, younger perhaps than you would suppose from my present appearance. I mean, of course, in character. But if you were not serious...
But I was perfectly serious. I want to marry your daughter, Mr. Sartorius. I hope you don't object.
So far, no. I may say that your proposal seems an honorable and straightforward one. And that is very gratifying to me, personally.
Well, then I suppose we may consider the affair as settled. Yeah, that's really very good of you.
Gently, Dr. Trench, gently. Such transaction as this cannot be settled offhand.
No, not offhand, no. These are settlements and things, of course, yes. But it may be regarded as settled between ourselves, mayn't it?
Have you nothing further to mention?
Only no, I don't have anything except that I...
Nothing to do with your family, for example? You don't anticipate any objection on their part, do you?
They don't have anything to do with it.
Excuse me, sir. They have a great deal to do with it. I am resolved that my daughter shall approach no circle in which she will not be received with the full consideration to which her education and her breeding, I say her breeding, entitle her.
Of course not. But what makes you think my family won't like Blanche? Of course, my father is a youngest son, but I have had to take a profession and all that. So my people won't expect us to entertain them. They'll know we can't afford it. But they'll entertain us, and they always ask me.
That won't do for me, sir. Families often think it due to themselves to turn their backs on newcomers who they may not think quite good enough for them.
Oh, but I assure you, my people aren't a bit snobbish. Blanche is a lady. That'll be good enough for them.
Well, I'm glad you think so. I think so myself. And now, Dr. Trench, since you have acted handsomely, you shall have no cause to complain of me. There shall be no difficulty about money. You shall entertain as much as you please. I will guarantee that. But I must have a guarantee on my side that she will be received on equal terms by your family.
Guarantee?
Yes, reasonable guarantee. I shall expect you to write to your relatives explaining your intention and adding what you think proper as to my daughter's fitness for the best society. And when you can show me a few letters from your principal members of your family, congratulating you in a fairly cordial way, I shall be satisfied. Can I say more?
No, indeed. You are really very good. Many thanks. Since you wish it, I'll write to my people. But I assure you, you'll find them as jolly as possible over it. I'll make them write by return.
Thank you. In the meantime, I must ask you not to regard the matter as settled.
Oh, not to regard... I see. You mean between me and Blanche and...
I mean between you and Mr. Sartorius. When I interrupted your conversation here some time ago, you and she were evidently regarding it as settled. In case difficulties arrive and the match, you see, I call it a match, be broken off, I should not wish Blanche to think that she had allowed a gentleman to... Quite so. May I depend on you to keep a fair distance and so spare me the necessity of having to restrain an intercourse which promises to be very pleasant to us all.
Certainly, since you prefer it.
You will write today, I think you said?
I'll write now, before I leave here, straight off.
Well, I shall leave you to yourself then. I'm pleased to have come to an understanding with you.
Oh. Billy, old chap, you're just in time to do me a favor. I want you to draft a letter for me to copy out.
I came with you on this tour as a friend, Trench, not as a secretary.
Well, you'll write as a friend. It's to my Aunt Mariah about Blanche and me. To tell her, you know.
Tell her about Blanche and you? Tell her about your conduct. Betray you, my friend, and forget that I am writing to a lady. Never.
Bosh, Billy, don't pretend you don't understand. We're engaged. Engaged, my boy. What do you think of that? Ah, I must write by tonight's post. You are the man to tell me what to say. Come, old chap. Here's a pencil. Have you a bit of head there? This'll do. Right on the back of the map. That's right. Oh, thanks awfully, old chap. Now fire away. Oh, be careful how you word it, though, Cocaine.
If you doubt my ability to express myself becomingly to Lady Roxdale.
All right, old fellow, all right. There's not a man alive who could do it half as well as you. I only wanted to explain. You see, Sartorius has got into his head somehow that my people will snub Blanche. And he won't consent unless they send letters and invitations and congratulations and the deuce knows what not. So just put it in such a way that Aunt Mariah will write by return saying that she's delighted and asking us, Blanche and me, you know, to stay with her and so forth. You know what I mean. Just tell her about it in a chatty way and
If you will tell me about it in a chatty way, I dare say I can communicate it to Lady Roxdale with proper delicacy. What is Sartorius?
I don't know. I didn't ask. It's the sort of question you can't very well put to a man, at least a man like him. Do you think you could word the letter so as to pass over that? I really don't like to ask him.
I can pass it over if you wish. Nothing easier, but if you think Lady Roxdale will pass it over, I differ from you. I may be wrong. No doubt I am. I generally am wrong, I believe, but that is my opinion.
Confound it. What the deuce am I to do? Can't you say he's a gentleman that won't commit us to anything? If you dwell on this being well off, dwell on his being well off and Blanche an only child, Aunt Mariah will be satisfied.
Henry Trench, when will you begin to get a little sense? This is a serious business. Act responsibly. Harry, act responsibly.
Osh, don't be moral.
I am not moral, Trench. At least I'm not a moralist. That is the expression I should have used. Moral, but not a moralist. If you're going to get money with your wife, doesn't it concern your family to know how that money was made? Doesn't it concern you? You, Harry. Of course, it is no business of mine. I only throw out the suggestion. Sartorius may be a retired burglar for all I know.
Shh, here they come. Get the letter finished before dinner, like a good old chappie. I shall be awfully obliged to you.
Leave me, you disturb me.
Yes, old chaps, thanks awfully. You won't mind my taking Blanche into dinner, I hope, sir?
By all means, Dr. Trench, pray do so. I do not disturb you, I hope, Mr. Cocaine.
By no means. Our friend Trench has entrusted me with a difficult and delicate task. He has requested me, as a friend of the family, to write to them on a subject that concerns you.
Indeed, Mr. Cocaine. Well, the communication could not be in better hands.
That is going too far, my dear sir, too far. Still, you see what Trench is, a capital fellow in his way. Mr. Sartorius, an excellent young fellow. But family communications like these require good manners. They require tact, and tact is Trench's weak point. He has an excellent heart, but no tact, none whatever. Everything depends on the way the matter is put to Lady Roxdale. But as to that, you may rely on me. I understand the sex.
Well, however she may receive it, and I care as little as any man, Mr. Cockayne. How people may choose to receive me, I trust that I may at least have had the pleasure of seeing you sometimes at my house when we return to England.
Oh, my dear sir, you express yourself in the true spirit of an English gentleman.
Not at all. You will always be most welcome. But I fear I have disturbed you in the composition of your letter. Pray resume it. I shall leave you to yourself. Unless, of course, I could assist you in any way, perhaps by clearing up any point on which you are not informed, for instance, or even, if I may so far presume on my years, giving you the benefit of my experience as to the best way of wording the matter. I shall always be happy to help any friend of Dr. Trench's in any way to the best of my ability and of my means.
My dear sir, you are really very good. Trench and I were putting our heads together over the letter just now, and there certainly were 1 or 2 points on which we were a little in the dark. But I would not permit Harry to question you. No, I pointed out to him that as a matter of taste, it would be more delicate to wait until you volunteered the necessary information.
May I ask, what have you said so far?
My dear Aunt Maria, that is, Trench's dear Aunt Maria, my friend, Lady Roxdale. You understand that I am only drafting a letter for Trench to copy.
Oh, quite so. Will you proceed, or would it help you if I were to suggest a word or two?
Oh, your suggestions will be most valuable, my dear sir, most welcome.
I think I should begin in some such way as this. In traveling with my friend, Mr. Cockayne, up the Rhine.
Invaluable, the very thing. My friend, Mr. Cockayne, up the Rhine.
I have made the acquaintance of, or you may say picked up or come across, if you think it would suit your friend's style better. We must not be too formal.
Picked up? Oh no, too dégagé, Mr. Sartorius, too dégagé. I should say, had the privilege of becoming acquainted with.
Well, by no means. Lady Roxdale must judge of that for herself. Now, let it stand as I said. I've made the acquaintance of a young lady, the daughter of...
Acquaintance of a young lady, the daughter of... Yes?
Of... You'd better say it, gentlemen.
Of course.
But it is not of course, sir. Of a gentleman of considerable wealth and position.
And position.
Which, however, he has made entirely for himself. Just so. Entirely for himself. Have you written that?
Indeed, quite so, quite so. Entirely for himself. Just so. Proceed, Mr. Sartorius, proceed, very clearly expressed.
The young lady will inherit the bulk of her father's fortunes and will be liberally treated on her marriage. Yes, marriage. Her education has been the most expensive and complete kind obtainable. And her surroundings have been characterized by the strictest refinement. She is in every essential particular.
Excuse the remark, but don't you think this is rather too much in the style of a prospectus of the young lady? I throw out the suggestion as a matter of taste.
Perhaps you're right. I am, of course, not dictating the exact words.
Oh, of course not. Of course not.
Yes, but I desire that there may be no wrong impression as to my daughter's breeding, and as to myself.
Oh, it will be sufficient to mention your profession or pursuits or...
My income, sir, is derived from the rental of a very extensive real estate in London. Lady Roxdale is one of the head landlords. Dr. Trench holds a mortgage, from which, if I mistake not, his entire income is derived. The truth is, Mr. Cockayne, I am quite well acquainted with Dr. Trench's position and affairs. I have long desired to know him personally.
What a remarkable coincidence. In what quarter is the estate situated, did you say?
In London, sir. Its management occupies as much of my time as is not devoted to the ordinary pursuits of a gentleman. The rest I leave to your discretion. Now, this is my address at Surbiton. If it should unfortunately happen, Mr. Cockayne, that this should end in a disappointment for Blanche, probably she would rather not see you afterwards. But if all turns out as we hope, Dr. Trench's best friends will then be our best friends.
Rely on me, Mr. Sartorius. The letter is already finished here. In 5 minutes, it will be finished there.
Blanche?
Yeah.
Time, my dear.
Coming.
Oh, Blanche, stop a moment. We must be careful when your father is by. I had to promise him not to regard anything as settled until I hear from my people at home.
Oh, I see. Your family may object to me, and then it will be all over between us. They are almost sure.
No, don't say that, Blanche. It sounds as if you didn't care. I hope you regard it as settled. You haven't made any promise, you know.
Yes, I have. I promised Papa too, but I have broken my promise for your sake. I suppose I am not so conscientious as you. And if the matter is not to be regarded as settled, family or no family, promise or no promise, let us break it off here and now.
Blanche, on my sacred honor, family or no family, promise or no promise. Damn that noise!
Finished, dear boy, finished. Done to a turn, but punctually to the second. C'est fini, mon cher garçon. C'est fini.
Will you take Blanche in, Dr. Trench? The letter finished?
There.
Thank you, Mr. Cockayne. You have the pen of a ready writer.
Oh, not at all, not at all. A little tact, Mr. Sartorius, a little knowledge of the world, a little experience of women.
And the curtain falls. Let's take a quick 3-minute break.
Anyone here but us chickens? Hey,
When?
how's the sound working? Is it still happening?
It sounds pretty good. Christina sounds a little muted. She could be a
Muted?
little louder.
Oh, she's not muted at my end. That's weird.
Okay, but it sounds loud enough to you?
Yeah. The only thing
Okay.
I'm hearing is her sound is cutting in and out a bit. I think her connection's a little wonky.
Yeah, I think it might be.
I'm using a new setup, which is why I was
Ah,
very surprised as we're out in Oregon. I'm using hotspot. There's no Wi-Fi here, and it
oh,
works. One doesn't need to buy Wi-Fi apparently.
yay, that's very good.
But
Well,
now,
I decided to turn on the settings that you had. I don't believe I've ever had any trouble with sound, but I thought, okay, let's try this. So I hope it sounds all right.
you sound fine. One of the great things about that high noise cancellation
Yeah.
is that I can sit in a pub with this thing and talk over Zoom to a friend who lives out of state or something.
Oh,
And the
nice.
pub can have music playing and TV's blasting, and I can
Wow.
talk quietly. All they hear is my voice. They don't hear any of the background. So it's a wonderful. Well, God bless technology.
Well, that's good. I usually I have a landline in here. This is my office. And so I usually wrap it in a blanket and put it inside something to try and because I don't know how to turn off the damn ringer on the phone. It's a very old phone.
That must be old.
I'm
Well, I
amazed,
probably can do it. I just don't know how.
I'm amazed you still have a landline.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm attached to it.
And it's attached to the wall.
Well, I was trying not to have people call me on my cell phone, but that's totally impossible. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Isn't a landline sort of an emergency thing we're all supposed to have in case
Yeah,
the power and the
when the
internet?
towers went down, none of the cell phones worked,
Right.
Hmm.
but the landlines worked. So,
Right.
you know, it's sort of that's really why I keep it, I think, just because of that.
I get why is this being a pain? I get the landline with my excuse me. I get the landline with my cable and internet, so package deal, the complex I live in arranged. So I keep it, but I would get worried about that power going out, Wi-Fi going out.
Yeah, yeah.
David,
Well,
why did he give your character such a weird name?
But
Why did he give your character such a weird name?
you'll find out very soon.
I know. The character names are like restoration comedy names or something in this.
Yeah. Well, that one certainly is.
Yeah. Sartorius is kind of there too. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. Are we all back?
I read the play. I don't remember something come up about lick cheese.
Well, Kristen doesn't come in for a while, but Christina doesn't come in for a while, but
doesn't she come in right away?
I'm here.
oh yes, she does come in right away. I beg your pardon. You're there. Something is going on with your sound today. I'm not sure.
The only thing I can think of is that it's because my fans are on and I cannot turn them off.
Well,
I will literally
I can
roll
totally
over.
understand that. Believe me, the heat in my place is miserable.
If you have the noise cancellation on high, the fans won't have any effect. It really does cut them out. So you sound fine to me. Is it?
My Wi-Fi is fine. My connection is. It's the only thing that I can think of.
Well, all of this is being recorded, so we better go on with the play.
Okay.
Act 2. In the library of a handsomely appointed villa at Surbiton on a sunny forenoon in September, Sartorius is busy at a writing table littered with business letters. The fireplace, decorated for summer, is close behind him. The window is in the opposite wall. Between the table and the window, Blanche, in her prettiest frock, sits reading. The Queen. It's a magazine. The door is in the middle. All the walls are lined with shelves of smartly tooled books, fitted into their places like bricks.
Blanche,
Yes, Papa.
I have some news here.
What is it?
I mean, news for you from Trench.
Indeed.
Indeed. Is that all you have to say to me? Oh, very well.
But what do his people say, Papa?
These people, I don't know.
What does he say?
He says nothing. He prefers to communicate the results of his, where did I put that? Ah, here it is. He communicates his result in person. If he walks from the station, he may arrive in the course of the next half hour. If he drives, he may be here at any moment. Blanche,
Papa.
you will not, of course, meet him until he has spoken to me.
Of course not, Papa. I shouldn't have thought of such a thing.
That is all. My dear child.
Good morning, miss. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Not much this morning, sir. I just had the honour of making Dr. Trench's acquaintance, sir.
Indeed.
Yes, sir. Dr. Trench asked his way of me and was kind enough to drive me from the station.
Well, where is he then?
I left him in the hall with his friend, sir. I should think he is speaking to Miss Sartorius.
What do you mean by his friend?
There is a Mr. Cocaine with him, sir.
I see you have been talking to him, eh?
As we drove along, yes, sir.
Why did you not come by the 9 o'clock train?
I thought...
It can't be helped now. So never mind what you thought. But do not put off my business again to the last moment. Has there been any further trouble about the St. Giles property?
The sanitary inspector has been complaining again about number 13, Robbins Row. He says he'll bring it before the vestry.
Did you tell him that I am on the vestry?
Yes, sir.
But what did he say to that?
Said he supposed so, or you wouldn't dare to break the law so scandalous. I only tell you what he said.
You know his name?
Yes, sir. Speakman.
Write it down in the diary for the day the next vestry meeting. I will teach Mr. Speakman his duty to members of the vestry.
The vestry can't hurt him, sir. He's under the local government board.
I did not ask you that. Let me see the books. What? £1.4 for repairs to number 13. What does this mean?
Well, sir, it was the staircase on the 3rd floor. It was downright dangerous. There weren't but 3 old steps in it and no handrail. I thought it best to have a few boards put in.
Boards. Firewood, sir. Firewood. They will burn every stick of it. You have spent 24 shillings of my money in fireworks for them.
There ought to be stone stairs. It would be saving in a long run. The clergyman says...
Who? What? Who says?
The clergyman, sir, only the clergyman. Not that I make much account of him, but if you knew how he has worried me over that staircase.
I am an Englishman. I will suffer no clergyman to interfere in my business. Now look here, Mr. Lickcheese. This is the 3rd time that you have brought me a bill of over £1 for repairs. And I have warned you repeatedly against dealing with these tenement houses as if they were mansions in a West End square. I have had occasion to warn you too against discussing my affair with strangers. You have chosen to disregard my wishes. You're discharged.
Oh, sir, don't say that.
You are discharged.
Well, Mr. Sartorius, it is hard, so it is. No man alive could have screwed more out of them poor destitute devils for you than I have, or spent less in doing it. I've dirted my hands at it until they're not fit for clean and hard work, hardly. And now you turn me...
What do you mean by dirtying your hands? If I find that you have stepped an inch outside the letter of the law, Mr. Lickcheese, I will prosecute you myself. The way to keep your hands clean is to gain the confidence of your employers, and you would do well to bear that in mind in your next situation.
Mr. Trench and Mr. Cocaine.
How do you do, Dr. Trench? Good morning, Mr. Cocaine. I'm pleased to see you here. Mr. Lickcheese, you will place your accounts and money on the table. I will examine them and settle with you presently.
I hope we are not in the way.
No, no, by no means. Sit down, I pray. I fear you've been kept waiting.
Oh, no, not at all. We've just only come in.
You must be happy here with all these books, Mr. Sartorius. A literary atmosphere.
I have not looked into them. They are pleasant for Blanche occasionally when she wishes to read. I chose the house because it is on the gravel. Death rate is very low.
I have any amount of letters for you. All my people are delighted that I am going to settle. Aunt Maria wants Blanche to be married from her house.
Aunt Maria.
Lady Roxdale, my dear sir. He means Lady Roxdale. Do express yourself with a little more tact, my dear fellow.
Lady Roxdale, of course. Uncle Harry, of course.
Sir Harry Trench, his godfather, my dear sir. His godfather.
Just so. The pleasantest fellow for his age you ever met. He offers us his house at St. Andrews for a couple months if we care to pass our honeymoon there. And this is a sort of house nobody can live in, you know, but it's a nice thing for him to offer. Don't you think so?
No doubt, no doubt. These seem very gratifying, Dr. Trench.
Yes, aren't they? Aunt Maria has really behaved like a brick. If you read the postscript, you'll see she spotted Cocaine's hand in my letter. He wrote it for me.
Indeed. Mr. Cocaine evidently did it with great tact.
Don't mention it.
Well, what do you say now, Mr. Sartorius? May we regard the matter as settled at last?
Quite settled.
Allow me to congratulate you both.
And now, gentlemen, I have a word to say to my daughter. Dr. Trench, you will not, I hope, grudge me the pleasure of breaking this news to her, I hope. I have had to disappoint her more than once since I last saw you. Would you excuse me for 10 minutes?
My dear sir, can you ask?
Certainly.
Thank you.
You won't have any news to break, poor old boy. She's seen all the letters already.
I must say your behavior has been far from straightforward, Harry. You've been carrying on a clandestine correspondence.
Oh, hello.
Oh, hello.
Look here, gentlemen. You, sir, I address myself to a more particular. Will you say a word in my favour to the governor? He's just given me the sack, and I have 4 children looking to me for their bread. A word from you, sir, on this happy day might get him to take me on again.
Well, you see, Mr. Lickcheese, I don't see how I can interfere. I'm very sorry, of course.
Certainly you cannot interfere. It would be in the most execrable taste.
Gentlemen, you're young. You don't know what loss of employment means to the like of me. What harm would it do you to help a poor man? Just listen to the circumstances, sir. I only...
No, I'd rather not. Excuse my saying plainly that I think Mr. Sartorius is not a man to act hastily or harshly. I have always found him very fair and generous, and I believe he is a better judge of the circumstances than I am.
I think you ought to hear the circumstances, Harry. If you can do no harm, it can do no harm. Hear the circumstances, by all means.
Never mind, sir. It ain't any use. When I heard that man called generous and fair, well, never mind.
If you wish me to do anything for you, Mr. Lickcheese, let me tell you that you are not going to the right way about it in speaking ill of Mr. Sartorius.
If I said one word against him, sir, I'll leave it to your friend. If I said a word...
True, quite true. Harry, be just.
Mark my word, gentlemen. You'll find out what a man he's lost the very first week's rent the new man will bring in. You will find the difference yourself, Dr. Trench, if you or your children come into the property. I've took money there when no other collector alive would have wrung it out. And this is the thanks I get for it. I see it here, gentlemen. Look at that bag of money on the table. Hardly a penny of that, but there was a hungry child crying for the bread it would have bought. But I got it for him, screwed and worried and bullied it out of him. I, there's money there that I couldn't have taken if it hadn't been for the thought of my own children depending on me for giving him satisfaction. And because I charged him 24 shillings to mend a staircase that 3 women have been hurt on, and that would have got him prosecuted for manslaughter if it had been let go much longer, he gives me the sack. He wouldn't listen to a word, though I would have offered to make up the money out of my own pocket. Aye, and am willing to do it still, if you will only put in a word for me.
You took money that ought to have fed starving children. Serve you right. If I had been the father of one of those children, I'd have given you something worse than a sack. I wouldn't say a word to save your soul if you have such a thing. Mr. Sartorius was quite right.
Just listen to this. Well, you are an innocent young gentleman. Do you suppose he sacked me because I was too hard? Not a bit on it. It was because I wasn't hard enough. I never heard him say he was satisfied yet. No, nor he wouldn't. Not if I skinned him alive. I don't say he's the worst landlord in London. He couldn't be worse than some. But he's no better than the worst I ever had to do with. And though I say it, I'm better than the best collector as he ever done business with. I've screwed more and spent less on his properties than anyone would believe that knows what such properties are. I know my merits, Dr. Trench, and will speak for myself if no one else will.
What sort of properties? Houses?
Tenement houses, let from week to week by the room or half room, aye, or quarter room. It pays when you know how to work it, sir. Nothing like it. It's been calculated on the cubic foot of space, sir, that you can get higher rents letting by the room than you can for a mansion in Park Lane.
I hope Mr. Sartorius hasn't much of that sort of property, however it may pay.
He has nothing else, sir, and he shows his sense in it too. Every few £100 he could scrape together, he bought old houses with houses that you wouldn't hardly look at without holding your nose. He has them in St. Giles, he has them in Melbourne, he has them in Bethnal Green. Just look how he lives himself and you'll see the good of it to him. He likes a low death rate and a gravel soil for himself, he does. You come down with me to Robin's Row and I'll show you a soil and a death rate, I will. And mind you, it's me that makes it pay him. So, well, catch him going down to collect his own rents? Oh, not likely.
Do you mean that to say that all his property, all his means come from this sort of thing?
Every penny of it, sir.
Ah, my dear fellow, the love of money is the root of all evil.
Yes, sir. And we'd all like to have the tree growing in our garden.
Mr. Lickcheese, I did not address myself to you. I do not wish to be severe with you, but there is something peculiarly repugnant in my feelings in the calling of a rent collector.
It's no worse than many other. I have my children looking to me.
True, I admit it. So has our friend Sartorius. His affection for his daughter is a redeeming point. A redeeming point, certainly.
She's a lucky daughter, sir. Many another daughter has been turned out upon the streets to gratify his affection for her. That's what business is, sir, you see. Now, come, sir. I think your friend will say a word for me now. He knows I'm not at fault.
I will not. It's a damnable business from beginning to end. And you deserve no better luck for helping in it. I've seen it all among the outpatients in the hospital. It used to make my blood boil to think of such things. I think that such things could be prevented.
Oh, indeed, sir. But I suppose you'll take your share when you marry Miss Blanche all the same. Which of us is the worst? I should like to know. Me that wrings the money out to keep a home over my children, or you that spend it and try to shove the blame on me?
A most improper observation to address to a gentleman, Mr. Lickcheese. A most revolutionary sentiment.
Perhaps so. But then Robin's Row ain't a school for manners. You collect a week or two there, you're welcome to my place if I can't keep it for myself. And you'll hear a little plain speaking, you will.
Do you know to whom you are speaking, my good man?
I know well enough whom I'm speaking to. What do I care for you or 1,000 like such? I'm poor. That's what enough to make a rascal out of me. No consideration for me. Nothing to be got by saying a word for me. Just a word, sir. It would cost you nothing. Have some feeling for the poor.
I'm afraid you have shown very little by your own confession.
More than your present father-in-law, anyhow.
You will come here tomorrow, not later than 10, Mr. Lick Cheese, to conclude our business. I shall trouble you no further today. He's one of my agents, or rather was, for I have unfortunately had to dismiss him for repeatedly disregarding my instructions. Well, Blanche will be down presently, Harry. I suppose I must call you Harry now. What do you say to a stroll through the garden, Mr. Cockaigne? We are celebrated here for our flowers.
Charmed, my dear sir, charmed. Life here is an idyll, a perfect idyll. We were just dwelling on it.
Sorry, I lost my place. Harry can follow with Blanche. She'll be down presently.
No, I can't face her just now.
Indeed.
No, but you don't understand.
Oh, I think we do. I think we do. Hey, Mr. Cockaigne?
I should think we do.
Harry,
Oh, I beg your pardon. I was thinking, won't you sit down?
is anything the matter?
No, no.
Papa hasn't been disagreeable, I hope.
No, I have hardly spoken to him since I was with you. Blanche, are you fond of money?
Well, very. Are you going to give me any?
Don't make a joke of it, I'm serious. Do you know that we shall be very poor?
Is that what made you look as if you had neuralgia?
No, dear, it's no laughing matter. Do you know that I have a bare 700 a year to live on?
How dreadful.
Blanche, it's very serious indeed, I assure you it is.
It would keep me rather short in my housekeeping, dearest boy, if I had nothing of my own. But Papa has promised me that I shall be richer than ever when we are married.
We must do the best we can with 700. I think we ought to be self-supporting.
That's just what I mean to be, Harry. If I were to eat up half your 700 pounds, I should be making you twice as poor. But I'm going to make you twice as rich instead. Has Papa made any difficulty?
No, none at all.
Harry, are you too proud to take any money from my father?
Yes, Blanche, I am too proud.
That is not nice to me, Harry.
You must bear with me, Blanche. I can't explain. After all, it's very natural.
Has it occurred to you that I may be proud too?
Oh, what nonsense. No one will accuse you of marrying for money.
No one would think it worse of me if I did, or of you either. We really cannot live on 700 a year, Harry, and I don't think it quite fair of you to ask me merely because you are afraid of people talking.
It is not that alone, Blanche.
What else is it then?
Nothing.
Of course it's nothing. Now don't be absurd, Harry. Be good and listen to me. I know how to settle it. You are too proud to owe anything to me, and I am too proud to owe anything to you. You have 700 a year. Well, I will just take 700 a year from Papa at first, and then we shall be quits. Now, Harry, you know you have not a word to say against that.
It's impossible.
Impossible?
Yes, impossible. I have resolved not to take any money from your father.
But he will give it to me, not to you.
It's the same thing. I love you too well to see any distinction.
Well, that's a very nice way of putting it, Harry, but I am sure there is something I ought to know. Has Papa been disagreeable?
No, he's been very kind. To me, at least. It's not that. It's nothing you can guess, Blanche. It would only pain you, perhaps offend you. I don't mean, of course, that we shall live always on 700 a year. I intend to go at my profession in earnest and work my fingers to the bone.
But I shouldn't like you with your fingers worked to the bone, Harry. I must be told what the matter is. Oh, I hate secrets, and I don't like being treated as if I were a child.
There's nothing to tell. I don't choose to trespass on your father's generosity, that's all.
You had no objections half an hour ago when you met me in the hall, showed me all those letters. Your family doesn't object. Do you object?
I do indeed. It's only a question of money. I do not indeed. It's only a question of money.
Harry, there's no use in our fencing in this way. Papa will never consent to my being absolutely dependent on you, and I don't like the idea of it myself. If you even mention such a thing to him, you will break off the match. You will indeed.
I can't help that.
You can't help? Ugh. I am beginning to understand. I will save you the trouble. You can tell Papa that I have broken off the match, and then there will be no further difficulty.
What do you mean, Blanche? Are you offended?
Offended? How dare you ask me?
Dare?
How much more manly it would have been to confess that you were trifling with me that time on the Rhine. Why did you come here today? Why did you write to your people?
Well, Blanche, if you're going to lose your temper, I might as well.
Oh, that's no answer. You depended on your family to get you out of your engagement, and they did not object. They were only too glad to be rid of you. You were not mean enough to stay away and not manly enough to tell the truth. You thought you could provoke me to break the engagement. That is so like a man to try and put the woman in the wrong. Well, you have your way. I release you. I wish you had opened my eyes by downright brutality, by striking me, by anything rather than shuffling as you have done.
Shuffle? If I had thought you capable of turning on me like this, I should never have spoken to you. I'd have a good mind to never speak to you again.
You shall not. Not ever. I will take care of that.
What are you going to do?
To get your letters, your false letters, and your presents, your hateful presents, to return them to you. I am very glad it is all broken off. And if there is any...
Gosh, pray. Blanche, you're forgetting yourself. You can be heard all over the house. Now, what's the matter?
You had better ask him. He has some excuse about money.
Excuse? Excuse for what?
For throwing me over.
I declare, I never did such a thing.
You did. You did. You are doing nothing else.
Silence! Silence! Blanche, you must control your temper. I will not have those repeated scenes within hearing of the servants. Dr. Trench will answer for himself to me. You'd better leave us. Mr. Cockayne, kindly join us in here.
Coming, my dear sir, coming.
I am sure I have no wish to stay. I hope I shall find you alone when I come back.
Sir.
Well, sir.
Gently, dear boy, gently. Suavity, Harry, suavity.
If you have anything to say to me, Dr. Trench, I will listen to you patiently. You will then allow me to say what I have to say on my part.
I beg your pardon. Of course, yes. Fire away.
May I take it that you have refused to fulfill your engagement with my daughter?
Certainly not. Your daughter has refused to fulfill her engagement to me. But the match is broken off, if that's what you mean.
Dr. Trench, I'll be plain with you. I know that Blanche has a strong temper. It's part of her strong character and a physical courage which is greater than that of most men, I can assure you. You must be prepared for that. If this quarrel is only Blanche's temper, you may take my word for it, it will be over before tomorrow. But I understand from what she said just now that you have made some difficulty on the score of money.
It was Miss Sartorius who made that difficulty. I shouldn't have minded it so much if it hadn't been for the things she said. She showed that she doesn't care that for me.
A dear boy.
Hold your tongue, Billy. It's enough to make a man wish he'd never seen a woman. Look here, Mr. Sartorius. I put the matter to her as delicately and considerately as possible, never mentioning a word of my reasons, but just asking her to be content to live on my own little income, and she turned on me as if I had behaved like a savage.
Live on your income? Impossible. My daughter is accustomed to a proper establishment. Did I not expressly undertake to provide for that? Did she not tell you I promised her to do so?
Yes, I know all about that, Mr. Sartorius, and I'm greatly obliged to you, but I'd rather not take anything from you except Blanche herself.
And why did you not say so before?
No matter why, let's drop the subject.
No matter. It does matter, sir. I insist on an answer. Why did you not say so before?
I didn't know before.
Then you ought to have known your own mind before entering into such a very serious engagement.
I ought to have known. Cocaine, is this reasonable? How the deuce could I have known? You didn't tell me.
You're trifling with me, sir. You say that you didn't know your own mind before.
I say nothing of the sort. I say I did not know where your money came from before.
That is not true. I told...
Gently, my dear sir, gently. Harry, dear boy, suaviter in modo forte.
Let him begin then. What does he mean by attacking me in this fashion?
Mr. Cocaine, you will bear me out. I was explicit on the point. I said I was a self-made man, and I'm not ashamed of it.
You are nothing of the sort. I found out this morning from your man, Lick Cheese, or whatever his confounded name is, that your fortune has been made out of a parcel of unfortunate creatures that have hardly enough to keep body and soul together, made by screwing and bullying and driving all sorts of pettifogging tyranny.
Sir?
Rentry, inevitable.
I'm afraid, Dr. Trench, that you are a very young hand at business. I'm sorry I forgot that for the moment. May I ask you to suspend your judgment until we have a little quiet discussion of this sentimental notion of yours, if you will excuse me for calling it so.
Very nicely put, my dear sir. Come, Harry, sit down and listen, and consider the matter calmly and judiciously. Don't be headstrong.
I have no objection to sit down and listen. But I don't see how that can make black white. And I am tired of being turned on as if I were in the wrong.
I assume to begin with, Dr. Trench, that you are not a socialist or anything of that sort?
Certainly not. I am a conservative, at least. If I ever took the trouble to vote, I should vote conservative and against the other fellow.
Oh, true blue, Harry, true blue.
I'm glad to find that so far we are in perfect sympathy. I am, of course, a conservative, not a narrow or prejudiced one, I hope, nor at all opposed to true progress, but still a sound conservative. Now, as to Lick Cheese, I need say no more about him than I have dismissed him from my service this morning for a breach of trust. And you will hardly accept his testimony, as friendly or disinterested. As to my business, it is simply to provide homes suited to the small means of very poor people who require roofs to shelter them, just like other people. Do you suppose I can keep up these roofs for nothing?
Yes, that's all very fine, but the point is, what sort of homes do you give them for their money? People must live somewhere or else go to jail. Advantage is taken of that to make them pay for houses that are not fit for dogs. Why don't you build proper dwellings and give fair value for the money and you take it?
My young friend, these poor people do not know how to live in proper dwellings. They would wreck them in a week. You doubt me? Try it for yourself. You are welcome to replace all the missing banisters, handrails, cistern lids, and dust hole tops at your own expense. And you will find them missing again in less than 3 days. Burnt, sir, every stick of them. I do not blame the poor creatures. They need fires and often have no other way of getting them. But I really can't spend pound after pound in repairs for them to pull down when I can barely get them to pay me 4 and 6 a week for a room, which is the recognized fair London rent. No, gentlemen, when people are very poor, you cannot help them, no matter how much you may sympathize with them. It does more harm than good in the long run. I prefer to save my money in order to provide additional houses for the homeless and to lay a little aside for Blanche. And now, Dr. Trench, may I ask you where your income is derived from?
From interest, not from houses. My hands are clean as far as that goes. Interest on a mortgage.
Yes, a mortgage on my property. When I, to use your words, screw and bully and drive these people to pay what they have freely undertaken to pay me, I cannot touch 1 penny of the money they give me until I have first paid you your £700 out of it. And what Lick Cheese did for me, I do for you. And he and I are alike intermediaries. You are the principal. It is because of the risks I run through the poverty of my tenants that you exact your interest from me at the monstrous and exorbitant rate of 7%, forcing me to exact the uttermost farthing in my turn from the tenants. And yet, Dr. Trench, you have not hesitated to speak contemptuously of me because I have applied my industry and forethought to the management of our property and am maintaining it by the same honorable means.
Admirable, my dear sir. Excellent. I felt instinctively that Trench was talking unpracticable nonsense. Let us drop the subject, my dear boy. You only make an ass of yourself when you meddle in business matters. I told you it was inevitable.
Do you mean to say that I am just as bad as you are?
Shame, Harry, shame. Grossly bad taste. Be a gentleman. Apologize.
Allow me, Mr. Cockaigne. If when you say you are just as bad as I am, you mean that you are just as powerless to alter the state of society, then you are unfortunately right.
Come, Harry, come. Pull yourself together. You owe a word to Mr. Sartorius.
Well, people who live in glass houses have no right to throw stones. But on my honor, I never knew that my house was made of glass until you pointed it out. I beg your pardon.
Say no more, Harry. Your feelings do you credit. I assure you I feel exactly as you do myself. Every man who has a heart must wish that a better state of things was practicable, but unhappily it is not.
I suppose not.
Not a doubt of it, my dear sir. Not a doubt of it. The increase of the population is at the bottom of it all.
I trust I have convinced you that you need no more object to Blanche sharing my fortune than I need to object to her sharing yours.
It seems so. We're all in the same swim, it appears. I hope you'll excuse me making such a fuss.
Not another word. In fact, I thank you for refraining from explaining the nature of your scruples to Blanche. I admire that in you, Harry. Perhaps it would be as well to leave her in ignorance.
But I must explain now. You saw how angry she was.
You'd better leave that to me. Well, lunch is nearly due. While you two are getting ready for it, I can see Blanche, and I hope the result will be quite satisfactory to us all. Tell Miss Blanche I want her.
Yes, sir.
Stop.
Yes.
My love to Miss Blanche, and I am alone here and would like to see her for a moment, if she is not busy.
Yes, sir.
I'll show you to your room, Harry. I hope you will soon be perfectly at home in it. You also, Mr. Cockaigne, must learn your way around here. Let's go before Blanche comes.
Our little discussion has given me quite an appetite.
It has taken mine away.
Well, is Miss Blanche coming?
Sir, I think so, sir.
Well, wait here until she comes and tell her I'll be back in a moment.
Yes, sir.
What is the matter with you?
Oh, nothing, sir.
Take care how you behave yourself when there are visitors present. Do you hear?
Yes, sir.
No. Excuse me, I had a word to say to the servant.
Not at all.
Oh, let's go, gentlemen. Let's go.
Where's my father?
He left word he'd be back directly, miss. I'm sure he won't be long. Here's the paper and string all ready, miss. Can I do the parcel for you, miss?
No, mind your business. What are you crying for?
Oh, you speak so brutal to me, Miss Blanche. I do love you so. I'm sure no one else would stay and put up with what I have to put up with.
Then go. I don't want you. Do you hear? Go.
Don't send me away from you, don't.
I hate the sight of you. Hold your tongue. Are those two gentlemen gone?
Oh, could you say such a thing to me, Miss Blanche? Me, that always does.
Stop that noise. I tell you, unless you want me to kill you.
Let me go, Miss Blanche. You know you'll be sorry, you always are. Remember how dreadfully my head was cut last time.
Answer me, will you? Have they gone?
Licked cheese is gone, looking dreadful.
Did I ask about lick cheese? You beast, you know what I mean. You're doing it on purpose.
They're staying to lunch.
Hey!
Yes, miss. Oh, you've set me hands all trembling, and I shall jingle the things on the tray at lunch so that everybody will notice me. It's too bad of you, miss.
Get up.
Oh,
My dear, can you not make a little better fight with your temper?
No, I can't. I won't. I do my best. Nobody who really cares for me gives me up because of my temper. I never show my temper to any of the servants, but that girl, she is the only one that will stay with us.
But my dear, remember, we have to meet our visitors at luncheon presently. I've run down before them to say I've arranged that little difficulty with Trench, and it was only a piece of mischief made by lick cheese. Trench is a young fool, but it's all right now.
I don't want to marry a fool.
Well, then you'll have to take a husband over 30, Blanche. You must not expect too much, my child. You'll be richer than your husband, and I think cleverer too. I'm better pleased that it should be so.
Papa,
Yes, my dear.
may I do as I like about this marriage, or must I do as you like?
Blanche,
No, Papa. You must answer me.
you shall do as you like now and always, my beloved child. I only wish to do as my own darling pleases.
Then I will not marry him. He has played fast and loose with me. He thinks us beneath him. He is ashamed of us. He dared to object to being benefited by you, as if it were not natural for him to owe you everything. And yet the money tempted him after all. Oh, Papa, I don't want to marry. I only want to stay here with you and be happy as we always have been. I hate the thought of being married. I don't care for him. I don't want to leave you. Only send him away. Promise me that you will send him away and keep me here with you as we always have. Oh,
I hope we are not intruding.
Dr. Trench, my daughter has changed her mind.
Am I to understand?
I think, Harry, under the circumstances, we have no alternative but to seek luncheon elsewhere.
But, Mr. Sartorius, have you explained what we talked
I
about?
have explained, sir. Good morning.
Come on, cocaine.
Certainly, Harry, certainly. You have disappointed me, sir, very acutely. Good morning.
And curtain. Okay, let's take another short 3-minute break.
Great fun.
Not a single one of these people is
Not a single one.
is likable. Not one of them really. They come right down to it.
So I did read the play, and I still don't know why he's named. Well, we're recording. Let's not give away any third act spoilers.
Oh, what do you mean my
I'm
name?
really going to find out. Am I really going to find out why he has that name?
Well,
Dave?
the name could have been Lick Boot, perhaps, but you know,
Oh, okay. That's what it meant.
you get what I mean.
Yes. I gotta go refill my water. I'll be right back.
I beg your pardon?
I'm gonna refill my water. Be right back.
Oh, okay.
I'm back, Dave.
Are we back?
I'm set.
Check in, everybody. Just make sure you're here.
I'm here.
Here, yes.
Here,
Here.
Okay. Let's go on with Act 3. I will just stop my video and Act 3. The drawing room in Sartorius's house in Bedford Square, London. Winter evening. Fire burning, curtains drawn, and lamps lighted. There is a large table in the middle of the room. Looking from it toward the 2 windows, the pianoforte, a grand, is on the right with a photographic portrait of Blanche on a miniature easel on a sort of bedspread which covers the top, showing that the instrument is seldom, if ever, opened. There are 2 doors, one on the left, further forward than the fireplace, leading to the study, the other by the corner nearest the right-hand window, leading to the lobby.
Blanche, my love.
Yes.
I had a long talk to the doctor today about our going abroad.
I am quite well, and I will not go abroad. I loathe the very thought of the continent. Why will you bother me so about my health?
It's not about your health, Blanche, but my own.
Yours? Oh, Papa, there is nothing the matter with you, I hope.
Well, there must be, Blanche, long before you begin to consider yourself an old woman.
But there is nothing the matter now.
Well, my dear, the doctor says I need change, travel, excitement.
Excitement? You need excitement. How is it, Papa, that you, who are so clever with everybody else, are not a bit clever with me? Do you think I can't see through your little plan to take me abroad? Since I will not be the invalid and allow you to be the nurse, you are to be the invalid and I am to be the nurse.
Well, Blanche, if you will have it that you are well and have nothing preying on your spirits, I must insist on being ill and have something preying on mine. And indeed, my girl, there's no use in our going on as we have for the last 4 months. You have not been happy, and I've been far from comfortable. Need you be so inflexible, Blanche?
I thought you admired inflexibility. You have always prided yourself on it.
Nonsense, my dear, nonsense. I've had to give in often enough. I could show you plenty of the sort of fellows who have done as well as I and enjoyed themselves more, perhaps. If it is only for the sake of inflexibility that you are standing out.
I am not standing out. I don't know what you mean.
Come, my child. You must not trifle with me as if I were a stranger. Now, you are fretting because you...
If you say it, Papa, I will kill myself. It is not true. If he were here on his knees tonight, I would walk out of the house sooner than endure it.
Now, if I fight with her, no more comfort for months. Might as well live with my clerk or my servant. And if I give in now, I shall have to give in always. But I can't help it. I've been stuck having my own way all my life, but there must be an end to the drudgery someday. She's young, and let her have a turn of it. Yes?
Please, sir, Mr. Lickcheese wants to see you, very particular. On important business. Your business, he told me to say.
Mr. Lickcheese? You mean Mr. Lickcheese, who used to come here on my business?
Oh, yes, sir, but indeed, sir, you'd scarcely know him.
Starving, I suppose. Come to beg?
Oh, no, sir. Quite the gentleman, sir. Sealskin overcoat, sir. Come in a hansom, all shaved and clean. I'm sure he's come into a fortune, sir.
Show him up.
Oh.
Well,
Quite well, Sartorius. Thank you.
I was not asking after your health, sir. As you know, I think as well as I do. What is your business?
Business that I can take elsewhere if I meet with less civility than I please to put up with, Sartorius. You and me is man and man now. It was money that used to be my master, and not you. Don't think it. Now that I'm independent in respect to money.
You can take your independence out of my house then. I won't have it here.
Oh, come, Sartorius, don't be stiff-necked. I came here as a friend to put money in your pocket. Don't you should letting on to me that you're above money, eh?
How much money?
Ah, there you speak like yourself, Sartorius. Now, suppose you ask me to sit down and make myself comfortable.
I have a mind to put you downstairs by the back of your neck, you infernal blackguard.
You and me is too much of a pair for me to take anything you say in bad part. Sartorius, have a cigar.
No smoking here. This is my daughter's room. Sit down. Sit down.
I've been getting on a little since I saw you last.
Oh, I see.
I owe partly to you, you know. Does that surprise you?
It doesn't concern me.
So you think, Sartorius, because it never did concern you how I got on, so long as you got on by bringing in the rents. But I picked up something for myself down at Robin's Row.
I've always thought so. You come to make restitution?
You wouldn't take it if I offered it to you, Sartorius. It wasn't money, it was knowledge. Knowledge of the great public question of the housing of the working classes. You know, there's a royal commission on it, don't you?
Oh, I see. You've been giving evidence.
Giving evidence, not me. What good would that do me? Only my expenses, and that not on the professional scale neither. No, I give no evidence. But I tell you what I did do. I kept it back just to oblige one or two people whose feelings would have been hurt by seeing their names in a blue book as keeping a fever down. Their agent got so friendly with me over it that he put his name on a bill of mine to the tune of, well, no matter. It gave me a start, and a start was all I ever wanted to get on my feet. I've got a copy of the first report of the commission in the pocket of my overcoat. And I turned down the page to show you. I thought you'd like to see it.
So, blackmail is the game, eh? I don't care that for my name being in the blue books. My friends don't read them. I'm neither a cabinet minister nor a candidate for parliament. There's nothing to be got out of me on that lay.
Blackmail? Oh, Mr. Sartorius, do you think I would let out a word about your premises? Round on an old pal? No, that ain't Lickcheese's way. Besides, they know all about you already. Them stairs that you and me quarreled about, they was a whole afternoon examining the clergyman that made such a fuss. You remember? About the women that was hurt on it. He made the worst he could of it in an ungentlemanly, unchristian spirit. I wouldn't have that clergyman's disposition for worlds. No, that's not what was in my thoughts.
Well, come, man. What was in your thoughts? Out with it.
You ain't spent a few hundreds in repairs since we parted, have you? No, don't fly out at me. I know a landlord that owned as beastly a sum as you could find in London down there by the tower. By my advice, that man put half the houses into first-class repair and let the other half to a new company, the North Thames Iced Mutton Depot Company, of which I hold a few shares, promoters' shares. And what was the end of it, do you think?
Smash, I suppose.
Oh, smash, not a bit of it. Compensation, Mr. Sartorius, compensation. Do you understand that?
Compensation for what?
Why, the land was wanted for an extension of the mint, and the company had to be bought out and the buildings compensated for. Somebody has to know these things beforehand, you know, no matter how dark they're kept.
Well,
Is that all you have to say to me, Mr. Sartorius? Well, as if I was next door's dog. Suppose I got wind of a new street that would knock down Robin's Row and turn Burke's Walk into a frontage worth £30 a foot. Would you say no more to me then? Well, come, look at my get-up, Mr. Sartorius. Look at this watch chain. Look at the corporation I've got on me. Do you think that all came from keeping my mouth shut? No, it came from keeping my ears and eyes open.
We'll talk this over in the study. There's a good fire there and you can smoke. Blanche, an old friend of ours.
And a kind one to me, I hope. And a kind one to me. I hope I see you well, Miss Blanche.
Hi, it's Mr. Lickcheese. I hardly knew you.
I find you a little changed yourself, miss.
I am the same as ever. How are Mrs. Lickcheese and the...
We have business to transact, Blanche. You can talk to Mr. Lickcheese afterwards. Come on.
Well, we are fine, ain't we, Miss Blanche? I think Mr. Lickcheese must have come into a legacy. I wonder what he can have with the master, Miss Blanche. He brought him this big book.
Let me see it. Oh. There's something about Papa in it.
Oh, he looks ever so much younger, Miss Blanche, don't he? I couldn't help laughing when I saw him with his whiskers shaved off. It do look so silly when you're not accustomed to it. You haven't finished your coffee, miss. I suppose I may take it away. Oh, you are interested in Mr. Lickcheese's book, miss.
So that was why he would not touch the money. Ugh, if only a girl could have no father, no family, just as I have no mother. Clergyman, beast, the worst slumlord in London. Slum landlord. Oh,
You just wait 5 minutes. No, he lodges round the corner in Gower Street, and my private hansom's at the door. By your leave, Miss Blanche.
oh, I beg your pardon. I hope I haven't crushed it.
You're welcome to crush it again now, Miss Blanche. Don't say good evening to me, miss. I'm coming back presently, me and a friend or two. Ta-ta, Sartorius, I won't be long.
I thought we were done with Lickcheese.
Not quite yet, I think. He left a book here for me to look over. Large book with blue paper cover. The girl put it away? Have you seen it?
No. Yes. No, I have not seen it. What have I to do with it?
Curious thing, Blanche, that a parliamentary gentleman who writes books such as these should be so ignorant of practical business. One would suppose to read this that we are the most grasping, grinding, heartless pair in the world, you and I.
Is it not true? About the state of the houses, I mean.
Quite true.
Then is it not our fault?
My dear, if we made the houses any better, the rents would have to be raised so much that the poor people would be unable to pay, and we would be thrown homeless on the street.
Well, then turn them out and get in a respectable class of people. Why should we have the disgrace of harboring such wretches?
That sounds a little hard on them, doesn't it, my child?
I hate the poor. At least I hate those dirty, drunken, disreputable people who live like pigs. If they must be provided for, let other people look after them. How can you expect anyone to think well of us when such things are written about us in that infamous book?
I see I've made a real lady of you, Blanche.
Well, are you sorry for that?
No, my dear, of course not. But do you know, Blanche, that my mother was a very poor woman and that her poverty was not her fault?
I suppose not. But the people who we want to mix with now don't know that. And it was not my fault, so I don't see why I should have to be made to suffer for it.
Who makes you suffer for it, miss? What would you be now but for what your grandmother did for me when she stood at her washtub for 13 hours a day and thought herself rich when she made 15 shillings a week?
I should suppose I should have been down on her level instead of being raised above it, as I am now. Would you like us to go and live in that place in the book for the sake of Grandmama? I hate the idea of such things. I don't want to know about them. I love you because you brought me up to something better. I should hate you if you had not.
Well, my child, I suppose it is natural for you to feel that way after your bringing up. It is the ladylike view of the matter. So, don't let us quarrel, my girl. You shall not be made to suffer anymore. I have made up my mind to improve the property and get in quite a new class of tenants. There, does that satisfy you? I'm only waiting for the consent of the ground landlord, Lady Roxdale.
Lady Roxdale?
Yes, but I shall expect the mortgagee to take his share of the risk.
The mortgagee? Do you mean?
Harry Trench, yes. And remember, Blanche, if he consents to join me in this scheme, I shall have to be friends with him.
And to ask him to this house?
Only on business. You need not meet him unless you like.
When is he coming?
There's no time to be lost. Lickcheese has gone round to ask him to come round.
Oh, then he will be here in a few minutes. What shall I do?
Well, I advise you to receive him as if nothing had happened, and then go out and leave us to our business. You're not afraid to meet him.
Afraid? No, most certainly not. But oh, here they are. Don't say I am here, Papa.
Straight in front of you, Doctor. You've never been here before, but I know the house better than my own. Ah. Here we are, all friends around St. Paul's. You remember Mr. Cocaine? He does a little business for me now as a friend and gives me help with my correspondence. Secretary, we call it. I've no literary style, and that's the truth. So Mr. Cocaine kindly puts it in my letters and drafts prospectuses and advertisements and the like. Don't you, Cocaine? Of course you do. Why shouldn't you? He's been helping me to persuade his old friend, Dr. Trench, about the matter we were speaking of.
No, Mr. Lickcheese, not trying to persuade him, no. This is a matter of principle with me. I say it is your duty, Henry, your duty to put those abominable buildings into proper and habitable repair. As a man of science, you owe it to the community to perfect the sanitary arrangements. In questions of duty, there is no room for persuasion, even from the oldest friend.
I certainly feel, as Mr. Cocaine puts it, that it is our duty, one which I have perhaps too long neglected out of regard for the poorest class of tenants.
No doubt, not a doubt of it, gents. A duty. I can be as sharp as any man when it's a question of business, but duty's another pair of shoes.
Well, I don't see that it is any more my duty now than it was 4 months ago. I look at it simply as a question of so much money.
Shame, Harry, shame.
Oh, shut up, you fool.
Steady, steady, Mr. Secretary. Dr. Trench is only joking.
I insist on the withdrawal of that expression. I have been called a fool.
So you are a fool.
Then you are a damned fool. Now, sir.
All right. Now we've settled that. What I mean is this. Don't let's have any nonsense about this job. As I understand it, Robin's Row is to be pulled down to make way for the new street in the Strand. And the straight tip now is to go for compensation.
That's so, Dr. Trench, that's it.
Well, it appears that the dirtier a place is, the more rent you get, and the decenter it is, the more compensation you get. So we're to give up the dirt and go in for decency.
I should not put it exactly in that way, but if...
Quite right, Mr. Sartorius, quite right. The case could not have been stated in worse taste or with less tact.
I do not quite go with you there, Mr. Cocaine. Dr. Trench puts the case frankly, as a man of business. I take the wider view of a public man. We live in a progressive age, and humanitarian ideas are advancing and must be taken into account. But my practical conclusion is just the same as his. I should hardly feel justified in making a large claim for compensation under existing circumstances.
Of course not. You wouldn't get it if you did. You see, it's like this, Dr. Trench. There's no doubt that the vestries has legal powers to pay old Harry with the slum properties and spoil the house snacking game if they please. That didn't matter in the good old times because the vestries used to be us ourselves. Nobody ever knew a word about the election, and we used to get 10 of us into a room and elect one another and do what we liked. Well, that cock won't fight any longer. And to put it short, the game is up for men in the position of you and Mr. Sartorius. My advice to you is take the present chance of getting out of it, spend a little money on the block at the Cribs Market End, and enough to make it look like a model dwelling, you know, and let the other block to me on fair terms for a depot for the North Thames Iced Mutton Company. They'll be knocked down inside of 2 years to make room for the new North and South Main thoroughfare, and you'll be compensated to the tune of double the present valuation, with the cost of the improvements thrown in. Leave things as they are, and you stand a good chance of being fined or condemned or pulled down before long. Now's your time.
Hear, hear. Hear, hear. Hear, hear. Admirably put from the business point of view. I recognize the uselessness of putting the moral point of view to you, Trench, but even you must feel the cogency of Mr. Lickcheese's business statement.
But why can't you act without me? What have I got to do with it? I'm only the mortgagee.
There is a certain risk in this compensation investment, Dr. Trench. The county council may alter the line of the new streets. If that happens, the money spent in improving the houses will simply be thrown away. Just thrown away. Worse than thrown away, in fact. For the new buildings may stand unlet or half-let for years. But you will expect your 7% as usual.
A man must live.
Je ne veux pas la nécessité.
Shut up, Billy, or I'll speak some language you understand. No, Mr. Sartorius, I should be very glad to stand in with you if I could afford it, but I can't. So there's the end of that.
Well, all I can say is that you're a very foolish young man.
What did I tell you, Harry?
Don't see that it's any business of yours, Mr. Lickcheese.
It's a free country. Every man has a right to his opinion.
Oh, hear, hear.
Come, where's your feelings for them poor people, Dr. Trench? Remember how it went to your heart when I first told you about them? What, are you going to turn hard?
No, it won't do. You can't get over me that way. You've proved to me before that there was no use in being sentimental over the slum shop of ours. And it's no good you're turning round on a philanthropic tack now that you want me to put my capital into your speculation. I've had my lesson, and I'm going to stick to my present income. It's little enough for me as it is.
Oh, it really matters nothing to me, Dr. Trench, how you decide. I can easily raise the money elsewhere and pay you off. And then, since you are resolved to run no risks, you can invest your 10,000 quid in consoles and get 250 for it a year instead of 700.
This is what comes of being avaricious, Harry. 2/3 of your income gone at one blow. And I must say it serves you right.
It's all very fine, but I don't understand it. If you can do this to me, why didn't you do it long ago?
Because as I probably should have had to borrow at the same rate, I should have saved nothing. Whereas you would have lost over £400, a very serious matter for you. I had no desire to be unfriendly, and even now I should be glad to let the mortgage stand, were it not that the circumstances mentioned by Mr. Lickcheese force my hand. Besides, Dr. Trench, I hoped for some time that our interests might be joined by closer ties even than those of friendship.
Now the murder's out. Excuse me, Dr. Trench. Excuse me, Mr. Sartorius. Excuse my freedom. Why not, Dr. Trench, marry Miss Blanche and settle the old affair that way?
You forget, Mr. Lickcheese, that the young lady whose taste has to be considered decisively objected to him.
Oh, perhaps you think she was struck with you.
I do not say so, Trench. No man of any delicacy would suggest such a thing. You have an untutored mind, Trench, an untutored mind.
Well, Cocaine, I've told you my opinion of you already.
And I have told you my opinion of you. I will repeat it if you wish. I am ready to repeat it.
Oh, come, Mr. Secretary. You and me as married men is out of the hunt as far as young ladies is concerned. I know Miss Blanche. She has her father's eye for business. Explain this job to her and she'll make it up with Dr. Trench. But why not have a bit of romance in business when it costs nothing? We all have our feelings. We ain't mere calculating machines.
Do you think, Lickcheese, that my daughter is to be made part of a money bargain between you and these gentlemen?
Oh, come, Sartorius. Don't talk as if you was the only father in the world. I have a daughter too, and my feelings in that matter is just as fine as yours. I propose nothing but what is for Miss Blanche's advantage and Dr. Trench's.
Lickcheese expresses himself roughly, Mr. Sartorius, but his is a sterling nature, and what he says is to the point. If Miss Sartorius can really bring herself to care for Harry, I am far from desiring to stand in the way of such an arrangement.
Why, what have you got to do with it?
Easy, Dr. French, easy. We want your opinion. Are you still on for marrying Miss Blanche if she's agreeable?
No, I don't know that I am.
Easy, one moment, Mr. Sartorius. Come now, Dr. Trench. You say you don't know what you are, that you are, but you do know that you ain't. But do you know that you ain't? That's what we want to know.
I won't have the relations between Miss Sartorius and myself made part of a bargain.
That's enough. A gentleman could say no less. Now, would you mind me and Cocaine and the governor stepping into the library to arrange about the lease to the North Thames Arse Mutton Company?
Oh, I don't mind. I'm going home. There's nothing else to say.
No, don't go. Only just a minute. Me and Cocaine will be back in no time to see you home. You'll wait for us, won't you?
Well, if you wish, yes.
Didn't I know you would? You never had such a managing man as me, Sartorius.
Well, so you have come back here. You have had the meanness to come into this house again. What a poor, stripped creature you must be. Why don't you go? I don't want you to stay. Oh, but I forgot. You have found that there is some money to be made here. Lick Cheese told you. You who were so disinterested, so independent, that you could not accept anything from my father. I suppose you will try to persuade me that you have come here on a great philanthropic enterprise to befriend the poor by having those houses rebuilt, huh? Yes, when my father makes you do it, and when Lick Cheese has discovered some way of making it profitable. I know, Pa, and I know you, and for the sake of that, you come back here into the house where you were refused, ordered out. You remember that. You know it is true. You cannot deny it. Let me tell you that you cut a poor figure, a very, very poor figure, Harry. And you, too, a gentleman, so highly connected with such distinguished relations, so particular as to where your money comes from. I wonder at you. I really wonder at you. I should have thought that if your family has brought you nothing else, it might have at least brought you some sense of personal dignity. Perhaps you think you can look dignified at present, eh? Well, I can assure you that you don't. You look most ridiculous, as foolish as a man could look. You don't know what to say. You don't know what to do. But after all, I really don't see anyone could say in defense of such conduct. I am afraid I am in your way, Dr. Trench. I shall not intrude on you any longer. You seem perfectly at home, and I need to make no apology for leaving you to yourself. Harry. Harry, I want you to answer me a question. Look me in the face. Do you hear? Look me in the face. Harry. What were you doing with my photograph just now when you thought you were alone? How dare you touch anything belonging to me?
I hear someone coming.
How do you do, Miss Sartorius? Nice weather for the return of l'enfant prodigue, eh?
Capital, Mr. Cocaine. So glad to see you.
Any news for us, Dr. Trench?
I'll stand in. Compensation or no compensation.
Supper is ready, Papa.
Oh, allow me.
And curtain. Stop the recording.
We're
The
still
armor-
streaming.
Lovely, everybody. It's too bad the gremlins are out again, but c'est la vie.
Yeah, it says live, but I think when I stop the recording, it goes off, is what I understand. So
Oh, yeah. No, it's gone. It's not on the screen.
yeah, it still says live on YouTube, but I think what they're seeing is nothing.
Yeah.
Well, it means we're still being streamed, so it's not being recorded.
But what's being streamed is a pause.
Mhm.
Oh, really?
I don't know, but
That's I think
On
what
YouTube now, we'll see a little
that
thing
ain't